As we've already done this video for the Voodoo and Slavic pantheons and their gods have already been released into Smite, I figured we may as well also do this for Polynesian mythology. Layla isn't in the game yet, and well, she'll be coming soon enough. So, before we get started, Polynesian mythology has plenty of deviations, which makes sense. It's practiced among the islands of the Pacific Ocean, and as you might imagine, a good number of these islands have, different variations on stories, myths, practices, things like that. The core elements of the mythology generally stay consistent throughout each island, but gods might have different names or different stories, things like that. See, over time, the people that populated Polynesia traveled between the different islands, and with all of that traveling came the growth of the mythology, but as I said, it also changed, so we get new characters added to it. But again, as I said, the core of the mythology stayed the same, so the core beliefs and how things work generally remain consistent. Now, moving on to some of the creational myths here. In the beginning, there existed a giant red shell. Rangi was on top of the shell. He was the sky god. But was on the bottom, it was the earth. They produced 6 sons: the god of the winds, the god of the forests, the god of war, the god of the sea, the god of peace, and the god of food. Now, unfortunately for these new children gods, their parents were still very much in love and very much too close to each other. If you remember the story of Geb from Egyptian mythology, it's that very similar deal in which the sky and the earth are so close together that nothing can really happen. And so what happens is that one of these children lays on their backs and pushes upwards with their feet, separating their parents and pushing the shell apart as well. When sufficient space between the earth and the sky was made, using red clay the children went to work, and they made humanity. The wind god wasn't particularly pleased about the creation of people, and he sent forth powerful winds, lightning storms, things like that, to just wreak havoc in people's lives. But the other gods didn't seem to mind, and Rangi and Papa were pretty pleased with the children's creations. They still missed each other, however. Each morning, the world is dampened by Ragnar's tears, and the morning mists represent Papa's sad. In other creational myths, Kane, an oceanic creator with Ku and Lono, is credited with creating the world, humans, and the heavens. After which, Kane rises up into the heavens after spending enough time with people. I think you've gotten the point by now, but didn't actually look up any of the pronunciations of these characters, mostly because, well, it didn't seem to make much of a difference the last time I made a video on Hawaiian mythology, so you're going to have to excuse the pronunciations, but Maki Maki was also a creator god of humanity for those in the South Pacific island of Rapa. And I'm mentioning all of these different stories just to hammer home the point that, yeah, there are a lot of differences in these myths, and there's a lot of different myths. In Polynesian mythology, all things that are natural draw their power, in some way, from the great power source that is mana. Mana can be good, evil, dangerous, or useful. It's active in people, animals, and varying objects. It's a sacred essence that's protected by a series of rules. Stepping foot inside of a sacred grove, for instance, is actually breaking one of these rules, being tapas. Now, depending on the severity of the rule that's being broken, different punishments are assigned. They range from death to illness or even bad luck. So it's best to stay away from breaking these rules if you can, in terms of as far as Polynesian mythology is concerned. Moving on to the gods of the Pantheon. There's Maui. He's come up a lot in the comment section. I think he's the most present Polynesian god in my comment section besides Pele now. And he was the youngest of 4 or 5 other siblings, varies depending on the myth you go with, but they were also called Maui. Perhaps his mother just couldn't take care of another child, and so she sent Maui off to sea. And he's out at sea for a bit, but the ocean god decides to be kind to Maui and allows him to return to his mother. When he does return, his mother challenges him to do a bit of housing redesigning, I suppose, in a sense. And he ends up having to destroy their home to be accepted by his mother. Now, a variation of this story is that Maui is born with a certain appearance that his mother just can't agree with. So she casts him into the sea. And eventually the sea god returns Maui to his mother. Before he's returned, he's changed into more of a human, more accepting appearance. And then his mother reunites with her child, and that's how that goes. Maui does quite a lot of things in Hawaiian mythology, and he's also something of a trickster god. But I suppose he'd fall under the same category as Shibalanke, Hercules, Cuchulainn, gods like that, in that he's a sort of hero god. Maui's mother couldn't get her work done one day. It was thanks to the sun. You see, it just moved across the sky far too quickly, and the days just wouldn't last long enough. This also bothered humans as well. They couldn't get what they needed to do, be that hunting and getting enough food and resources for the day so that they could improve their lives. Maui wanted to do something to change this. After reminding his brothers of his previous feats, you see, this one time Maui was able to transform into every single bird in a certain forest, and then he was able to turn back into his manly appearance. He had to remind them of this because his brothers didn't think that Maui and themselves were up to the task of getting the sun to inhabit the day more, but he convinced them, and with either 4 or 5 brothers, he was able to fashion a lasso out of some rope and quickly latch it onto the sun. See, the sun was still fairly dangerous, and they couldn't just do this whenever they felt like in the day, so they had to wait until the sun went down, and could only do this until sun. When sunrise appeared during the day, they had to flee and hide, taking cover. But when nighttime appeared, they could continue this struggle. Soon enough, Maui caught the sun and demanded that he move slowly across the sky. The sun agreed, but Maui wasn't convinced that the sun would necessarily keep its end of the bargain. After all, it was the sun. Very powerful, very big, very unruly. So Maui decided to just leave the lasso, binding the sun just a little bit, just to make sure that the sun knew its place. We're actually welcome for that, thanks to Maui. Longer days. Great. Another Polynesian god, or Hawaiian god if you prefer, that probably should end up in the game, or at least is just worthy of note. Tane. Remember I mentioned him during the creational stories? Well, aside from being the god of light who lifts up a corner of the dark sky, and being associated with Kane, a creator god, when he split apart his parents, light burst into the world. So I suppose during Maui's whole "You're Welcome" song in that one Disney movie, you could also throw Tane a bone and say, well, we're also welcome thanks to Tane's efforts as well. But there you go. That was pretty much the video on Polynesian mythology. I hope that you did enjoy it, and if you did, go ahead and leave a like. You want to see more content just like this? Well, you need to hit that subscribe button, and I may or may not leave my sources in the description again, so you can enjoy those if you care enough. And until the next video, have a very good day. Right. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.